My name is Elena Thompson, and I'm about to destroy my husband's life in front of everyone he respects. But let me start with the moment that changed everything. The boardroom doors swung open with a dramatic flourish that only Marcus could manage. He strutted in like he owned the world, which, in his mind, he probably did. His hand rested possessively on the small of Sophia Rivera's back as he guided her toward the head of the conference table where I sat waiting. The other board members shifted uncomfortably in their leather chairs. David Chen, our CFO and Marcus's oldest friend, couldn't even look me in the eye. Rebecca Martinez, my closest ally, sat rigid with barely contained anger. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Marcus cleared his throat and flashed that $1,000,000 smile that once made me fall in love with him 12 years ago. Now it just made my stomach turn. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice dripping with confidence, "I've called this meeting to discuss some exciting changes to our company structure." I watched him like a hawk watches its prey. Every gesture, every word, every smug expression was exactly what I had been waiting for. The manila folder in front of me felt warm under my fingertips. 8 months of careful planning, documenting, and strategizing had led to this moment. Sophia stood beside him in her designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her perfectly manicured nails caught the light as she placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did he. "As you all know," Marcus continued, his chest puffing out with pride, "Sophia has been an incredible addition to our team. Her fresh perspective and innovative ideas have already transformed our creative department." I almost laughed out loud. Fresh perspective? The only thing fresh about Sophia was how quickly she had crawled into my husband's bed and started spending our company's money. Marcus turned to look at me with those cold blue eyes that used to hold so much warmth. "Elena has done wonderful work over the years, but it's time for new leadership. Time for someone who understands the modern market." The room fell silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming in the background. Rebecca's pen snapped in her grip. Then Marcus said the words I had been praying he would say, the words that would seal his fate forever. "Sophia will be replacing Elena in all company operations," he declared, his arm sliding around Sophia's waist. "She's fresher, smarter, better, and not just here in the boardroom." His smile turned cruel. "She's replacing her at home too." The board members gasped. David's face went pale. Rebecca looked like she wanted to leap across the table and strangle Marcus with her bare hands. But I just smiled. The uncomfortable laughter that followed was exactly what I expected. Nervous chuckles from people who didn't know how to react to watching a man publicly humiliate his wife and business partner, the woman who had helped him build this company from nothing. Marcus basked in their reaction like he was performing on stage. Sophia giggled and pressed closer to him, probably thinking she had won some kind of prize. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. I opened my manila folder slowly, deliberately. The sound of papers rustling cut through the awkward laughter like a blade. Every eye in the room turned to me. "That's interesting, Marcus," I said, my voice calm and steady. "Because I have something fresher, smarter, and definitely better right here." The laughter died instantly. The room went so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Marcus's confident smile faltered for just a second. "Elena, what are you—" "8 months," I interrupted, pulling out the first document. 8 months of evidence. 8 months of watching you steal from our company. 8 months of documenting every lie, every crime, every betrayal. Sophia's face went white. Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I looked directly into the camera Rebecca had secretly set up to record this meeting. "And 8 months of planning the sweetest revenge you've ever seen." What do you think Elena discovered? Drop your guesses in the comments below and hit that like button if you want to see Marcus get what he deserves. The real show was just beginning. 8 months ago, I thought I was living the perfect life. Marcus and I had built Thompson Digital Marketing from nothing into a multi-million-dollar company. We had 2 beautiful children, a gorgeous house in the suburbs, and what everyone called a power couple marriage. I should have known it was too good to be true. It was a Tuesday evening in March when my world cracked open. Marcus had been working late again, or so he claimed. I was at home helping our 8-year-old daughter Emma with her math homework when his phone, which he'd forgotten on the kitchen counter, buzzed with a text message. The preview on the lock screen made my blood freeze. "Can't wait for tonight, baby. The lingerie you bought me is perfect. S." My hands shook as I stared at those words. S. There was only one S in our company who would be texting my husband about lingerie, and it wasn't our 60-year-old secretary Susan, Sophia Rivera, the young, ambitious creative director we'd hired just 2 weeks earlier. I sat there in our kitchen, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and felt everything I believed in crumble. Emma was still working on her multiplication tables, completely unaware that her mother's heart was breaking into a million pieces. But here's the thing about me that Marcus never understood. I don't fall apart. I plan. Instead of confronting him that night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find out exactly how deep this betrayal went, and then I was going to make him pay for every single lie. The next morning, I walked into our office building with a smile on my face and murder in my heart. Marcus greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, the same way he had for 12 years. But now I could smell her perfume on his shirt collar. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, just like always. "Sleep well?" "Like a baby," I lied, matching his fake smile with one of my own. I watched him throughout that day with new eyes. The way he lingered by Sophia's desk during his morning coffee, how he volunteered to personally review her project proposals, the private meetings that ran longer than necessary. It was all so obvious once I knew what to look for. That evening, I started my investigation. While Marcus showered, I went through his phone. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Months of text messages, photos, and plans for secret meetings. They'd been carrying on their affair since her second week at the company. But the texts revealed something even worse than adultery. They were talking about money, company money. "The new client account should give us plenty to work with," Marcus had written to her. "I'll transfer the funds to the consulting budget. No one checks those receipts carefully." My husband wasn't just cheating on me. He was stealing from our company to fund his affair. I screenshot everything and saved it to a secure cloud account. Then I carefully put his phone back exactly where he'd left it. Over the next few weeks, I played the role of the oblivious wife perfectly. I smiled when Marcus complimented Sophia's work and meetings. I nodded when he explained his late nights as important client calls. I even suggested we invite the whole team, including Sophia, to our anniversary party. But behind the scenes, I was building a case that would destroy him. I started paying attention to every financial detail of our company, every expense report, every client payment, every budget allocation. What I discovered made my stomach turn. Marcus had been systematically stealing from Thompson Digital for months, funneling money through fake consulting contracts and inflated expense reports. The worst part? He was using our company's money to buy gifts for his mistress, the same company I had helped build from nothing, the same company that supported our children's future. I began documenting everything: photos of receipts, copies of bank statements, recordings of suspicious phone calls. I created a detailed timeline of every theft, every lie, every betrayal. Marcus thought he was so clever, but he had no idea he was married to someone who understood every aspect of our business better than he did. By the end of that first month, I had enough evidence to send him to prison. But prison wasn't enough. I wanted him to lose everything, just like he was planning to make me lose everything. I wanted revenge that would be absolutely perfect. 2 months into my investigation, I realized I couldn't do this alone. I needed allies, and I knew exactly who to trust. David Chen had been Marcus's business partner since we started the company, but he was also a man of integrity. I'd watched him grow increasingly uncomfortable with Marcus's recent behavior, especially his obvious favoritism toward Sophia. I found my opportunity on a Thursday morning when Marcus was out of the office for what he claimed was a client meeting. I knew better. His calendar showed a 2-hour gap, and Sophia had mysteriously called in sick that same morning. "David," I said, knocking on his office door. "Do you have a minute?" He looked up from his computer, his expression troubled. "Of course, Elena. Come in. I closed the door behind me and took a deep breath. I need to show you something, and I need you to promise me you'll keep an open mind. David's eyebrows furrowed. What's going on? I pulled out my tablet and showed him the financial records I'd been analyzing. Look at these expense reports from the past 6 months. Notice anything unusual? His eyes scanned the numbers, and I watched his expression change from confusion to concern to outright anger. These consulting fees? Elena, these companies don't exist. I've never heard of half of these vendors. That's because Marcus created them, I said quietly. He's been stealing from our company, David, systematically, for months. David's face went pale. How much? So far, nearly $200,000. He sat back in his chair like I'd punched him in the stomach. Why would he? Elena, this could destroy everything we've built. It gets worse, I said, showing him the text messages between Marcus and Sophia. He's using our money to fund an affair. David read the messages in silence, his jaw clenching tighter with each word. When he finished, he looked up at me with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. How long have you known? He asked. 2 months. I've been documenting everything. What do you need from me? That was David, straight to the point, ready to do what was right. Access to the financial systems Marcus thinks I can't see, and your help in protecting our legitimate assets. David nodded grimly. You have it. My next recruit was Rebecca Martinez. As head of operations, she had access to personnel files, security footage, and employee communications. More importantly, she despised injustice in any form. I approached her the following week during our usual lunch meeting. Rebecca and I had been friends since college, and she'd been my strongest supporter when Marcus started pushing me out of important decisions. Rebecca, I said, stirring my salad absently, what would you do if you discovered someone was stealing from the company? She looked up sharply. I'd make sure they never worked anywhere again. Why? I told her everything. The affair, the embezzlement, Marcus's plan to push me out of the company I'd helped build. Rebecca's face grew darker with every detail. That bastard, she whispered when I finished. Elena, we have to stop him. We are going to stop him, I said. But I need your help. Rebecca's smile was fierce. What do you need? Security footage from the office after hours, email logs, and I need you to keep track of every time Sophia leaves early or calls in sick. Done. What else? I need you to help me transfer our most valuable client relationships to secure accounts. Quietly. If Marcus tries to steal the company, I want to make sure our best clients come with me. Over the next month, my team of 3 worked like a well-oiled machine. David provided financial records that showed the full scope of Marcus's theft. Rebecca documented every suspicious meeting, every unexplained absence, every violation of company policy. But the most valuable intelligence came from an unexpected source. I discovered that Sophia had been careless with her computer security. She'd saved Marcus's financial information, including bank account numbers and passwords, on her work laptop. Even worse, she'd been taking photos of confidential client files and storing them in her personal cloud account. The woman wasn't just sleeping with my husband, she was planning to steal our trade secrets. As I sat in my home office late one night, reviewing all the evidence we'd gathered, I felt a cold satisfaction settle over me. Marcus thought he was playing chess while I was playing checkers. He had no idea I was about to flip the entire board. By month 4, Marcus had grown so confident in his deception that he barely tried to hide it anymore. He would disappear for hours with Sophia, claiming they were brainstorming creative campaigns. He started wearing expensive new clothes and cologne that I definitely hadn't bought him. Most telling of all, he began treating me like a stranger in my own company. But his arrogance was exactly what I needed. During a staff meeting in late June, Marcus announced that he was restructuring the company's leadership roles. We need fresh blood in management, he declared, not even looking at me. People who understand where the market is heading. I sat quietly, taking notes like the dutiful wife everyone expected me to be. But inside, I was recording every word on the app Rebecca had installed on my phone. After the meeting, I overheard Marcus and Sophia talking in his office. The door was slightly open, and their voices carried clearly into the hallway. When are you going to tell her? Sophia asked, her voice sweet and manipulative. Soon, Marcus replied. I'm meeting with the lawyers next week to discuss the divorce papers. Once I have control of the company assets, Elena won't have any choice but to accept whatever settlement I offer. And then we can be together officially? Baby, we'll have everything. The company, the house, the money. Elena will be lucky if she gets enough to rent a small apartment. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart pounding with rage and satisfaction. He was giving me everything I needed to destroy him. That evening, I made a decision that would seal Marcus's fate forever. I was going to let him think he was winning. I started playing the role of the defeated wife. I stopped asking questions about his late nights. I didn't comment when he came home smelling like Sophia's perfume. I even began making small comments about feeling overwhelmed by the business responsibilities. Maybe you're right, I said one morning over breakfast, making my voice sound tired and uncertain. Maybe I should step back from the day-to-day operations, focus more on the kids. Marcus's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. I think that's a wise decision, Elena. You've been working so hard for so many years. You deserve a break. What he didn't know was that I was using his overconfidence against him. Every time he excluded me from a meeting, I had Rebecca record what was discussed. When he moved money through his fake consulting accounts, David tracked every transaction. When he took Sophia on expensive business trips, I documented every receipt and every lie. But the most damaging evidence came from Sophia herself. I discovered that she had been keeping a detailed diary on her laptop, documenting her relationship with Marcus and her plans for the future. Rebecca had gained access to it through the company's IT monitoring system, and what we found was pure gold. Sophia had written about Marcus's promises to leave me, his plans to steal the company, and most importantly, her own scheme to sell our client information to competitors once she gained access to our systems. Marcus is so easy to manipulate, she had written in one entry. He thinks he's using me, but I'm the one getting everything I want. Once I have access to all the client files, I can sell them to Richardson Associates for enough money to start my own agency. Marcus will never see it coming. I printed every page of that diary and added it to my growing file of evidence. The final piece of my trap came together when Marcus made his biggest mistake yet. He started bringing Sophia to client meetings that should have included me, introducing her as his business partner, and gradually erasing my role in the company we'd built together. Our biggest client, Harrison Industries, called me directly after one of these meetings. Elena, Mr. Harrison said, his voice concerned, I'm confused about the changes at your company. Marcus brought this young woman to our strategy session and said she was taking over our account. But you've been our contact for 8 years. What's going on? This was my moment. Mr. Harrison, I said carefully, I think there might be some miscommunication. Would you be available for a private meeting next week? I'd like to discuss some concerns about the direction of your account. Absolutely. I've always trusted your judgment, Elena. I smiled as I hung up the phone. Marcus thought he was stealing my clients, but he was actually driving them straight into my arms. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for him to walk into it. Month 6 brought the confirmation I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Marcus had filed for divorce. I found the papers hidden in his desk drawer while he was out with Sophia on another one of their business lunches. The legal documents were brutal in their coldness, requesting full control of Thompson Digital Marketing and offering me a settlement that wouldn't even cover our children's college tuition. But attached to the divorce papers was something even more devastating, a business restructuring plan that would effectively steal everything I'd helped build. Marcus intended to buy out my shares at a fraction of their value, claiming the company's recent performance issues had decreased its worth, performance issues that he had created through his embezzlement. I photographed every document and sent them to my own lawyer, Jennifer Walsh, who I'd been secretly consulting for weeks. Her response came within hours. Elena, this is financial fraud on multiple levels. He's trying to steal your half of the company while simultaneously devaluing it through his own criminal actions. We can destroy him in court. But I didn't want to destroy him in court. I wanted to destroy him in front of everyone who mattered to him. That night, I sat Marcus down for what he thought would be an easy conversation. I found the papers, I said quietly, placing the divorce documents on our kitchen table. Marcus had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable, but his response was exactly what I expected. Elena, I think this is best for both of us. We've grown apart, and the business needs new direction. The settlement seems modest, I said, keeping my voice neutral. The company isn't worth what it used to be, he lied smoothly. Market conditions, increased competition. I'm actually being generous. I nodded like I believed him. I suppose you're right. You always were better with the business side of things. The relief on his face was almost comical. He actually thought I was going to roll over and accept his betrayal without a fight. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this, he said, reaching across to pat my hand like I was a child. Sophia and we have plans for the company. Big plans. I'm sure you do, I replied, pulling my hand away gently. When do you want to make this official? I was thinking we could announce the restructuring at the quarterly board meeting next month. Make it clean and professional. Perfect. He was going to hand me the stage for his own destruction. Over the next few weeks, I accelerated my preparations. David and I quietly secured the company's most valuable assets, transferring key contracts and client relationships to protected accounts. Rebecca helped me document every instance of Marcus's misconduct, creating a timeline that would be impossible to dispute. But my most important preparation was personal. I met with Harrison Industries, our biggest client, and showed them evidence of Marcus's embezzlement and Sophia's plan to sell their confidential information to competitors. Mr. Harrison was furious. Elena, we've trusted Thompson Digital with our most sensitive marketing strategies. If this information gets out, it won't, I assured him. But I need you to trust me for just a few more weeks. Can you do that? He nodded grimly. What do you need from us? Just be ready to move your account when I give you the signal. I had similar conversations with 3 other major clients. By the end of the month, I had secured agreements that would take nearly 60% of our revenue with me when I left Thompson Digital. Marcus, meanwhile, was planning his grand announcement. He spent hours with Sophia rehearsing his presentation about the company's new direction. He even bought a new suit for the occasion. The irony was delicious. He was preparing for what he thought would be his moment of triumph, completely unaware that I had orchestrated his complete downfall. 3 days before the board meeting, I received the final piece of evidence I needed. Rebecca had discovered that Sophia had already begun selling client information to Richardson Associates, our biggest competitor. She had copies of the wire transfers and email communications proving the betrayal. I added this evidence to my file and smiled. Marcus thought he was playing chess, but I had been playing a completely different game. On the morning of the board meeting, I woke up early and put on my best business suit. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a woman who was about to reclaim everything that had been stolen from her. Marcus was still sleeping, probably dreaming about his new life with Sophia. He had no idea he was about to lose everything. The morning of the board meeting, I woke up at 5 a.m. with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. Today was the day Marcus would pay for every lie, every betrayal, every stolen dollar. I made coffee in our kitchen while Marcus slept upstairs, probably dreaming about his new life with Sophia. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was preparing for battle in the same house where we'd once planned our future together. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Everything is ready. The recording equipment is set up in conference room A. David has the financial documents prepared. Are you sure you want to do this? I typed back, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. At 7 a.m., I drove to the office separately from Marcus, telling him I had some personal errands to run first. In reality, I needed time to prepare the conference room and review my evidence one final time. David was already there when I arrived, looking nervous but determined. The board members will start arriving at 9, he said. Marcus scheduled the meeting for 9:30. Perfect. That gives us time to make sure everything is in place. Rebecca joined us a few minutes later, carrying a small bag of equipment. I've set up 3 cameras, she explained quietly. One focused on the head of the table where Marcus will be standing, one on the board members' reactions, and one on you. Everything will be recorded in high definition. And the audio? Crystal clear. I tested it this morning. I opened my manila folder and spread the contents across the table. 8 months of evidence, meticulously organized and documented. Bank statements showing Marcus's theft. Screenshots of his text messages with Sophia. Copies of Sophia's diary detailing her plan to sell our client information. Financial records proving the embezzlement. And the crown jewel. A recording of Marcus and Sophia discussing their plan to steal the company and leave me with nothing. Elena, David said softly, are you absolutely certain about this? Once you present this evidence, there's no going back. Marcus will be finished. I looked at my business partner and friend, this man who had watched Marcus destroy everything we'd built together. David, he made his choice when he decided to steal from us, when he decided to betray not just me, but everyone who trusted him. At 8:30, the board members began arriving. Thomas Richardson, our lead investor, Sarah Kim, our legal advisor, Michael Torres, our marketing consultant, Patricia Wells, our financial oversight specialist. Each of them greeted me warmly, having no idea they were about to witness the most dramatic board meeting in Thompson Digital's history. Marcus arrived at exactly 9:15, strutting through the office like he owned the world. He wore his new charcoal gray suit and a red tie that Sophia had probably picked out for him. She followed close behind, dressed in a designer outfit that cost more than most people's monthly salary. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus announced as he entered the conference room. "Thank you all for being here today. We have some exciting announcements to make." I watched him work the room, shaking hands and making small talk with the board members. He was in his element, confident and charismatic. The man I had once fallen in love with was still there, buried under layers of greed and arrogance. Sophia positioned herself near the presentation screen, her laptop ready with whatever slides Marcus had prepared. She kept glancing at me with barely concealed smugness, probably thinking about how she was about to watch me get humiliated in front of everyone. "Shall we begin?" Marcus asked, taking his position at the head of the table. I sat in my usual spot, my manila folder closed in front of me, my hands folded calmly in my lap. To everyone else, I probably looked like a woman resigned to her fate. Only Rebecca and David knew the truth. Marcus cleared his throat and began his presentation. "Ladies and gentlemen, Thompson Digital Marketing has reached a crossroads. We need bold new leadership to take us into the future." I listened to him speak, watched him gesture confidently, observed Sophia's satisfied smile. They had no idea that every word Marcus spoke was being recorded, that every gesture was being captured on camera. They had no idea that in just a few minutes their entire world would collapse. I touched the edge of my manila folder and smiled. The calm before the storm was about to end. Marcus's voice filled the conference room with false confidence as he continued his presentation. "Thompson Digital needs leadership that understands the modern marketplace. Leadership that isn't stuck in outdated thinking." He gestured toward me dismissively. "Elena has done admirable work over the years, but it's time for fresh perspectives. Time for innovation." The board members shifted uncomfortably. They could sense something was wrong, but they had no idea what was coming. That's why I'm pleased to announce that Sophia Rivera will be taking over Elena's responsibilities, both here and in my personal life. Marcus's smile was cruel as he delivered the line that sealed his fate. "She's fresher, smarter, better." The uncomfortable laughter that followed was exactly what I had been waiting for. I opened my manila folder slowly, deliberately, and the sound cut through their nervous chuckles like a blade. "That's fascinating, Marcus," I said, my voice calm and steady, "because I have something that's definitely fresher, smarter, and better right here." I stood up and walked to the presentation screen, connecting my laptop with practiced ease. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see is 8 months of evidence documenting systematic embezzlement, fraud, and corporate espionage." Marcus's confident smile faltered. "Elena, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about this," I said, displaying the first bank statement on the screen. $237,000 stolen from Thompson Digital through fake consulting contracts. The board members gasped. Patricia Wells, our financial oversight specialist, leaned forward in shock. "Those are company funds." "Indeed they are," I continued, clicking to the next slide. "Funds that Marcus used to finance his affair with Sophia. expensive dinners, luxury hotel rooms, designer gifts, and even a secret apartment downtown. Sophia's face went white. She grabbed Marcus's arm, but he shook her off, his eyes fixed on the screen in horror. "But wait, there's more," I said, enjoying every second of their panic. "Sophia, would you like to explain to the board why you've been photographing confidential client files and storing them in your personal cloud account?" I displayed screenshots of Sophia's laptop files, showing dozens of stolen documents. "Or perhaps you'd like to discuss the $40,000 payment you received from Richardson Associates last week for selling them our client strategies?" "That's not... I never..." Sophia stammered, but her guilt was written all over her face. Thomas Richardson, our lead investor, stood up angrily. "You sold our proprietary information to our biggest competitor?" "It gets better," I said, clicking to display Sophia's diary entries. According to her own written confession, she was planning to steal all our client information and start her own agency. Marcus was just a stepping stone to her real goal. Marcus turned to stare at Sophia in shock. "You were going to leave me?" "Baby, I can explain." Sophia started, but I cut her off. "Oh, but the best part is this recording from last week," I said, playing the audio of Marcus and Sophia discussing their plan to steal the company and leave me with nothing. Marcus's own voice filled the room. "Elena will be lucky if she gets enough to rent a small apartment." The board members erupted in angry voices. David stood up, his face red with fury. "Marcus, how could you steal from your own company? From your own friends?" "And here's my personal favorite," I continued, displaying the divorce papers Marcus had filed. "He planned to buy out my shares at a fraction of their value, claiming the company had performance issues he created through his own embezzlement." Sarah Kim, our legal advisor, was frantically taking notes. "This is criminal fraud on multiple levels. Marcus, you're looking at serious prison time." But I wasn't finished. The sweetest part of all this? While Marcus was planning to steal my company, I was securing our most valuable assets. Harrison Industries, Meridian Corp, and Global Dynamics have all agreed to transfer their accounts to my new agency, effective immediately. Marcus's face went from pale to green. "You can't do this, Elena. This is my company, too." "Was your company," I corrected. "The board will be voting to remove you immediately, and the police will be here within the hour to arrest you for embezzlement and fraud." Sophia made a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. "Marcus, tell them this is all lies. Tell them." "Shut up," Marcus screamed at her, finally seeing her for what she really was. "You used me. You were planning to destroy everything." The room fell silent as Marcus realized the full scope of his destruction. His company, his marriage, his freedom, his reputation, all gone in a matter of minutes. I looked directly into Rebecca's hidden camera and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people destroy themselves. What did you think of Elena's revenge? Was it satisfying enough? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of justice served. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an epic payback story. Marcus was led away in handcuffs an hour later. Sophia disappeared that same day, probably running from the criminal charges that were coming her way. As for me, I walked out of that boardroom with my head held high, ready to build something even better than what I'd lost. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply being smarter than the people trying to destroy you.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.